Hello my lovelies, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to speak about prehistory. This is the final part 3. If you didn't watch part 1 and part 2, please check in my channel. I have already posted them, and to have a complete view on the prehistory, you have to watch them. I suggested to watch them. In this part 3, today I'm going to cover a few interesting subjects such as religion motifs, militarization, tokens, counting, so much interesting things. I started with the religion, first religion motifs in Middle East, especially in Ubaid culture, because in part 2 we already started talk about Ubaid culture. In this part still we're continuing talking about Ubaid culture, especially also I'm going to highlight the special cities like Uruk, Neridu. And we're going to end it up with how we had a writing system, right? Because as we know, the prehistory stops when writing system created. I mean the cuneiforms, Sumerian cuneiforms, right? So I'm going to end it up with this. And the end of the video also I will drop some interesting information by myself, and please watch. I filmed this part already earlier, so you know I was dividing my work. Anyway, I started with the religion motifs about the lizard figurines. It's really interesting figurines and statues, and it will take you in a deep thoughts why we had such a figurines with strange features like a lizard or snake. Also, I would like to add, if you look at those figurines, you will find, you know, hum here and hum there. In the video I didn't say it, but I would like to say it now. Those hums, as historians suggest, that it is most probably tattoos. So it's coming a amazing conclusion as well. So first religion motifs, the figurines, they had the tattoos. Or a second suggestion that it was jewelry piece. But however, I like to go to more the tattoos, because you know the jewelry will not stick here and will not stick there, and the size of the jewelry, it's too big to be a jewelry. Anyhow, we have those suggestions. The first one is the tattoos, and second one the jewelry. So enjoy watching my video. I hope you will like it. I hope you will like it. It is important to talk about the religion motifs in Ubaid culture. The most significant one is the lizard-faced people. The famous archaeologist Mr. Woolley, he excavated 14 pits and he discovered lizard-faced people. Right? It's like a small figurines having a weird face, A-shape body type, which the shoulder is wide, and the torso and the hip line is coming in narrow. They had legs, body and head formed from the single clay, round butt, yeah. But however, the figurine itself, it was slim. Like if we're going to compare to previous our religion motifs, there was like a goddess. She was obviously it's a fertility goddess because she was let's say chubby, right? But here we're having a slim figurine with a weird facial features. So what was the jobs of that figurine, and what they did represent? Did they represent the dead people, or they represent something supernatural being, or you know, or they are the shaman priests? Does it indicate a particular status, right, or mask of someone or god, or is it represents a circumstance of death, let's say, right? Is it this religion motifs, these figurines was like ideal people for the Ubaid culture? We don't know, unfortunately, because you know we don't have writing yet to explain and what is that, so we only guess. but the quantity of the figurines, it was like found around 400 figurines from the graves around the cemetery, and most of them also it was found inside the house. So you'll find those figurines inside the temples and inside the house. The important thing here, it was a late practice, to bury with a figurine. If we're going to check previous cemeteries, the buried places, you will not find the figurines. But the late practice of religion motif, you'll find those figurines next to the skeletons. So you'll find the skeleton and around it those figurines. Very, 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 very important point here. I would like to highlight that most figurines were female. We have nurturing woman, let's say, because we have significant breasts. It shows it's like a Barbie type body, let's say, right? But most of them, they were female ladies, yani. And we have an opinion that those figurines evolved from Samaran culture, and it come more like, let's say, stylish, because they found similar figurines. However, their faces wasn't like that, their body wasn't like that, but these ones like very unique figurines ever found, and we call them lizard face people, obviously, because they had lizard face. And those figurines buried next to that person, while the figurine was not properly, let's say, burned. You prepare the clay and you'll put in the fire, and it will take a hard shape. However, those figurines wasn't like, let's say, in the brackets, cooked well, right? And it wasn't, let's say, also like a Barbie, like somebody did a toy. We don't know why they buried them. We don't know. Another important thing that these figurines, obviously, it's like a doll, right? It's like if we consider that they are toys, Barbie shaped, like beautiful dolls, and we gave them to the girls, to little girls to play, entertainment and the toys, if we consider them as a toys, that also we cannot say the true, because those figurines are not found next to the children cemeteries. So most of them figurines found in adult cemeteries. So again, we don't know exactly the purpose of those figurines, but a lot of historians and archaeologists, and they come up with the conclusion that this is probably it's religion motifs. Ubaid culture also started to do geometric patterns, especially mosaics. We can find as well many artifacts which were telling to us, they're telling to us that this culture was complex, and people, they had their own property. Like they want to tell that this thing or this item is mine. How I'm going to tell to other people around it that this jar is belong to me, or belong to my clan, or belong to my tribe, right? Inside the jar there is a cereal, barley, etc. Up in your imagination with the food, let's say food, mainly the containers had the food. I'm going to seal it with my own special stamp seals. Most of early stamps had animal designs, for example, deer, antelope, snake, lion, etc. Containers that were sealed, they were mainly jars, boxes, baskets, sacks, anything what you can seal, right? You will not seal, for example, plate. It's impossible, because obviously it's flat. I can add here also, it's not necessary that you'll have stamped jars or baskets, but you'll have, for example, tool also. The tool, weapon, because they are also property, right? It's preventing from the stealing your item. So I have my knife and I'm going to put on it my stamp. I'm going to use my sealed stamp, and this item going to belong to me. But normally those sealed stamps, they use it on the clay items. Maybe they created later using as a rope when you tidying up with the rope and you sealing the rope itself. First prints probably was belong not to person, but to some tribe or clan. So they had to share it. For example, I have a jar, I have a kettle, I have a pot, and I have a print on it. That the print meant to belong to the one tribe or clan, not to the one person. Plus, later they start to have a record. So we had the urge to count, right? We had the urge to count. This is 1 apple, 2 apple, 3 apple. Ubaid people were, I can say that they were like accounting people. So normally, when you find the stamp, the pictures on the stamp, normally it's the quantity. Let's say the stroke 1, 2, 3 stroke, and next to it, the item. It's really basic, and it's actually it's very cute. I found it very cute. So you will find that strokes, the numbers mentioned, very basic and simple numbers, and next to it for the item. For example, I have let's say inside my jar like wheat, right? I have 1 kg of wheat. I'm going to make it a stroke 1, and I'm going to draw a beautiful let's say the wheat picture, glyph. So by the time the wheat picture will be turned into the symbol, and it will be placed on the token. So now you have already tokens, right? You have special tokens, which is mentioning the quantity and the item itself. I want to highlight here as well that still there is no writing. So before writing, we start to count. We had a counting first. We had our first math, let's say. So we spoke about the stamps, we spoke about the tablets, the stamps we used to seal the items, the jars, the baskets, etc. was inside the food. Tablets, the early tablets, we used to use them in order to write it down the record, and we had also tokens for counting. The tokens were used to perform more complex tasks such as collecting, organizing, recording, storing, communicating, calculating, or even, for example, controlling the data. Tokens were used for counting and record keeping, basically. So if you're going to sum up. Tokens first adopted not in Ubaid culture, of course. We had the urge to count earlier in Mesopotamian area. So whatever cereal were cultivated, we had tokens. The tokens first was like a plain tokens, no extra, decor and let's say design. It was just a plain. Normally it had a shape of item what you're counting. For example, if I'm counting the bread, that token had a loaf, right? If I'm counting let's say fish, it had a fish shape. The tokens were made like that. So I'm having now subtract, minus and plus already advanced, let's say, for that time math while using a token. Later on, we had a complex token after the plain tokens. The complex token, they were with design, and it referred to the good manufacture, when it comes to the textile, something more difficult comparing to the cereal gathering and the wheat or barley, whatever. It was simple for them, but the more difficult manufacture, for example, as I said, textile, we had complex tokens. However, those complex tokens had a short duration, because right after we had the Sumerians, they invented writing. But those tokens, right, with the complex pictures, they help us because we start to depict abstraction, our thoughts, our feelings, and those tokens. So those abstractions lead to develop cuneiforms, further Sumerian writing. So how tokens were used? Very simple. Once the grain was collected, right, it used to be stored in, of course, temples. I want to add here why we're saying the cats, they are, sacred animals, all the stuff, because cats normally they used to resident in the temples because there was a mice, and the mice, they are number one who's destroying the cereal. So it's somehow it's around the temple and around the god house, and that's why we're calling the cats sacred animals. So once the grain was collected, it was stored in the temples. If temples didn't have enough space, for sure it should be some communal granaries, and the reserves were calculated. Those cereals, the grains, the harvests were calculated for sure, because leader or priest or the leader or commander, anywhere, number one person who's ruling that place, particularly let's say Uruk city-state, one of his tasks was allocating the cereal and allocating the grains. Allocation was not only for food, right? It was like a allocation the seeds. So once you collect the seeds, you're going to return back seeds. So they will do another harvest in the future, and some grain was kept for extra bad times, right? If there is a drought or happens some fire, in any accident moments, you should have your backup. So the leaders, they used to calculate using tokens, by the way, reservation for the food for the future. Also, we had ritual offerings of gods. How we cannot do this one. So leader, he used to give a cereal or the grain or barley to the people, so they could do offerings to their gods. And of course, very major, normally it happens in the spring, festivals, spring and autumn. The festivals, for the preparation of the festivals, of course, the food was compulsory. You have an accounting, of course, you had a control over it, right? Mainly controls was by head of the clans, but the top of the clans, of course, it was religion centers. In Ubaid culture, religion center, it was what? Of course, temples. So now you have the first cool and powerful center, which we name it temples. In Ubaid culture, we had already the cities, as I said. The first cool and powerful center with the temple settlements, it was Uruk, right? So if we're going to throw back, and if we talk about the Çatalhöyük, right? If we consider it that the complex, a religious complex, but in Uruk we are having now temple. So it's a powerful settlement, powerful center, along with the temple. So you have now unique place with the temple. The clay platforms, which were built on top of each other, worshipping some kind of goddess, not god, goddess, most probably earlier version of goddess Iana, and after Ishtar. Anyway, the southern Mesopotamia, we started to have powerful centers like Uruk and Eridu. A lot of people come to Uruk to make more farms as well. So you have now temple, you have a center, it's called Uruk, and later Eridu, and so on. While you're having temple and center and the religion idea, people going to come to that area, right? And technology going to also evolve. Why I'm saying this one? Because earlier we talked about the stamps. Most popular cylinder stamps were found in Uruk. Why cylinder? Because it's the process come like automized. Before, you need to stamp here, stamp there, but here it's like automation, and it's like you just put and you roll it on top of it, on top of the item, on the clay, let's say. Well, after the rolling, it will appear related information, right? Related information that this item belong to these people. And we have many cylinder stamps, and it's very lovely there. If you're going to roll it, they'll appear the pictures, the quantity, the symbols, everything what the person wanted to tell. It's all in the cylinder stamps. And I did a video also about the cylinder stamps of Sumerian people, but it's already late. We're talking still about the Ubaid culture. However, in that video, I showed that ladies of southern Mesopotamia, they used to carry with them stamps, and they was like a jewelry piece. So you have a long necklace, and at the end of the necklace, you carry your own stamp. And pay attention here, it's a lady's property, it's not the men. Maybe also the men used to carry it, but the ladies, they had their own stamps on their leg as a jewelry piece. How is wonderful. So you have your accessory on your neck, and in the end of the accessory, you have your stamp. So you go, let's say, to the market, right? And you bought something, or you're selling something, and it's easier for you to use your stamp, just roll it, your cylinder stamp, and finish. Your deal is finished. First of all, it's easy to carry the cylindric stamps rather than the token one stamps, the square ones. Okay, you need to have a bag, but here you're just carrying on your neck or on your waistline, maybe in your pocket as well. Farming and domestication moved us for the further development, right? It's like, as I said, it was a revolutionary, the farming and domestication. Farming, I mean, when we domesticate the wheat, and domestications of the animals also help us to develop, to go forward. But on the other hand, it causes a lot of problems, because one of the problems causes the really bad damage to our lives in the past. It was having epidemic diseases. Why we had this epidemic diseases? Before we were hunter-gatherer, right? We just walk around savannas non-stop in a small group, and we don't settle in one place. We just build a hut, we do our stuff, and we don't clean the place, and we just leave it, let's say. We found another cave. We stayed there for, let's say, 2-3 days, and then we're going to leave again. So we were continuously moving. So it was like a more nomadic lifestyle. However, when we found, we domesticate wild wheat and barley, and we domesticate the sheep and goat and cow and the cattle, we settle in one place. When we settle in one place, we have epidemic diseases. So if I have a flu, I can easily transfer to the rest of the people in my village or in my city, because we are not moving, we settled in one place. This is caused us a lot of death, and people, they die being in one place. And epidemic diseases will not appear just like that, right? You're just living your life, settling in one place, and voila, you have you're sick. No. The people, what they used to do, they used to go to cow every day to milk it. They used to go to swine, right, to get the newborn babies from it, let's say. So you don't want, you will get virus infection from the animals, from the domesticated animals. And the chances to be dead of the whole settlement is huge. And the people, they didn't know in the past that infections and the virus spread and pass it through animals, right? Like, I don't have to go through this one, but that's very, very obvious. And we know we passed this coronavirus, and we know that, chicken flu, swine flu, and all the stuff, a lot of viruses we had from the animals. Let's say like chicken pox, we know it's mutated virus. It comes from the cows, and it occurred mass death, and was extremely normal at this time as well. So we had epidemic diseases because of the animals. Animals had their own infections, they're mutated, they passed to us, those infections, and we losing a lot of people at the same time also. And the time usage also rapidly changed. Like, for example, hunter-gatherers, they used to spend, let's say, 3-4 hours to find food, but the farmers, they start to spend whole day at the farms. Sitting in one place, no need to go far, putting your life at the high risk. What I mean that the hunter-gatherer skeletons, if you're going to examine the hunter-gatherer skeletons, you'll found a lot of injuries, damages so badly, like a broken leg, broken skull, broken arm. But comparing to the farmers, right? The farmers, he's in the farm making a barley, making a beer, busy with something else. It's not at the high risk, what I want to say. So they chose to be in the farm and have a low risk of dying or damaging themselves rather than hunt after the, let's say, wild ox and fell down from the cliff, let's say. So I prefer to stay in my farm, be busy doing, as I said, barley. The first ever made food considers barley porridge. From the drinks considers the beer. Yeah, and the beer is another special chapter in Asian people life. I would say luxurious part. I will say beer was prestige. Why beer was prestige? Why it was luxurious part? Because it's not an apple which just grows on the tree. You go and you gather and you collect and you put in your basket and you consume. No, beer appeared before the domestication of wild barley, before the farming, before domestication and animals in the hunter-gathering time. So people used to go out, find wild barley, collect it, soak it into the water, wait some kind of period of time. So it was like interesting beverage, interesting beverage that you will not find naturally. It's like a made beverage. You spend time on it. And it gives you some kind of authority, because there wasn't a concept that the people exchange beer for the authority. Today we have a voting. Instead of money they used to use a beer. Today we have a voting. Habibi, if you vote for me, I'm going to give you beer. So it was like a bribe tool as well. That's why we consider beer as a luxurious part. And bread as well. How was the beer born? Like cheese, like bread, like wine, beer was created or was born by accident. Some smart guy, let's say, he left his barley in the jar, and it was really a raining day. He forgot, and the jar was filled with the water. Where was the barley inside, right? Imagine. Beer is older from barley bread for 3,000 years.
We will not get the beer immediately. When I say immediately, when we forgot the barley jar under the rain, and the jar was filled with the water and the barley was soaked. No, it takes, of course, long process. So let me break down this process for you guys. The jar barley was left under the rain. The jar was filled with the rain. The barley got puffy. It soaked all the water, right? All the cereals, if you take a rice, wheat, barley, when you soak in the water, they change, right? They come like from the small, teeny tiny pieces to the little bit puffy grains. And the first dish, we know it was the first prepared dish from the grains. It was a barley porridge. For sure somebody consumed that and used to consume it. Why they used to consume it, barley porridge? Because hunter-gatherers, they used to collect the barley and any other kind of cereal, and they used to consume it in a raw manner, so they didn't cook. But here, if you soak it, the cereal, it comes more softer and it's easier for you to digest. So you go washroom easily, comparing if you're consuming the raw. And you have to eat a lot cereals to be full. But when you're eating a porridge, right, when you're adding a water inside the barley or wheat, gluten, it's glue, and when you eat, it stays in your stomach longer, you're less hungry, so on. So we have now ready porridge. And one smart, I like to give credit here for ladies, she want to cook it. She put the kettle under the on the fire, and beer start to brew and then start to be fermented. We know that to prepare the beer we need some particular temperature. It will not just like disappear. So the yeast is the sugar made from melted grain, and it's converts to the alcohol. So our porridge is ready, which is cooked under the fire. You can consume cooked barley porridge right away, or you not consume, you leave it, right? So that jar cooked with the barley porridge was left. Next day and the next day and the next day, inside what left will start to ferment it and start to brew, because we know beer takes time to be fermented. And then someone hungry obviously came and tried leftover food, and they start to feel happy. When I said they start to feel happy, because beer, we know there is alcohol, it's reflects on your mood, etc. So why we consume beer more than water? Water, obviously people used to go to the river, grab a cup of the water direct from the river. A river has a lot of microbes and bacteria, and you drink that one, you got diarrhea, you have a problem. But on the other hand, when you're drinking a beer, you're not having anything, because inside the alcohol, which is killing almost all bacteria, and you're okay. So it's like it's not even making you happy, but it's making you healthy. You're not sick anymore. You're not going every 5 minutes to the washroom, right? And of course, the people, they conclude, wow, this is magical drink, and this is definitely gifts from the God or from the gods. And it had start to have a lot of value. The first of all, it's come by accident. It's a gift from the gods, and it takes process to prepare the beer, which makes it more valuable. Comparing, if I just go get the apple from the tree, right? I'll spend quite long time to get the beer. So it's some kind of time investment, and you value a lot. So it's changed it to the currency as well. So we had the barter before. So one of the currencies was a beer, cereals, and the bread, one of the first currencies. So that's why we considered beer luxurious. So now we have everything better and better. We have better food, better houses, better cemetery, burial places. As a result, we're having a lot of people, right, in one place. So we have a lot of people. And what is a lot of people? there is a settlements, the bigger and bigger and bigger settlements between those blessed rivers, right? It's between the Tigris and Euphrates. More settlement means what, guys? We said already that we had a property, and a lot of settlements, villages, cities, they start to build along those rivers. If I have more settlements and I'm having a lot of people and I have a property, we're going to have a what? We're going to have a militarization. We're going to have army. We start to have special tools with a purpose to killing each other. Because this is nice land. There is next to this land water. I'm going to use the land to water my farms. And if someone not from my clan or from my tribe or from my settlement going to cross the line, I'm going to kill it. So you should have now what? Military weapon.
Here occur tools, weapons, for more purpose to kill each other. Not like we're having a long iron swords or Kalashnikov or bronze spears, simpler ones. It is not effective to cut the trees, but easy to use to send someone into other world. Occurs more and more weapons rather than comparing the labor tools. So before we were having like a blooming and production of labor tools, now having a blooming of production of weapons. Weapons, what I meant, the normal ones, which is slings and the bows, because slings and bows are already found in the massive burials. So there was a war, let's say fight, and there killed a lot of people. So with them we found the long slings and bows. Settlements bigger. And when the settlement is bigger, your working place is far from your settlement. So I'm in the city, I'm living in the city, but to go to work, I need to go out from the city, which is obviously will be like 20 kilometers far. And while you're working in the field, you need to have someone to secure you, because anybody not from your city can come and they can kill you, or they can take you, right? You are working and bringing food, so you should not be killed. You are useful, so you need security. So what I want to say, we started to have a burials with the weapons. We start to have a burials with the people. That the most probably that we had the slavery. Because it's weird to imagine that the free people with their own will, they will drink a poison in order to be buried with someone they're not related to, right? So farmers were busy at the fields, and we are having now new category of people who start to sorting out the things. Safe things, security things, army, militarization, so on. They are not interested at all to make the channels better. They're not interested to bring more harvest. They're not interested to make our society better. They didn't care how to milk a cows or take a birth from the swine or circumcise the bull. No. All they was interested is sorting out the things. I'll give you an example. For example, like Erido people. You go to Erido people and they will say, people from Erido, let's attack to Lagash, so we can take care about the people, in the brackets, take care that they were going to take as the slaves, the local people of Lagash. So they are, shifting to another city, making a deal, sorting out the things, and they are attacking to another state cities. Uruk, yes, Uruk, it was the major one. Because militarization, as I said, appeared in the Uruk first. Now they don't have point also killing. It's like offer. For example, the Uruk guy, he will come to Lagash city and he will offer to one fellow, you just come to my place. I have same exactly field or next to my city Uruk, listen, and then you gather here harvest, you can gather there also, and you work on my field, and when I come you give me the grains in the harvest, and whatever left, you take it, keep it with yourself. It's okay with me. It's just like simply just kill you. I don't want to kill you. Well, those people, they didn't have an even choice. No so big choice to choose, right? Overall, slavery decreased the deaths of the people as well, because there is no point to kill just like those the people. There is a great opportunity to keep someone and use it as a labor. And in the end, that people, they want to stay alive, so they don't have a choice, and they will accept that. Moreover, your kids will stay alive, so take the opportunity or die. How it was really it was, we cannot say 100% accurately. Anyways, those processes what I described above, we cannot deny it as well, and we don't know exactly how the slavery also occurred, but these processes are meant to be.
So for the protection, you should have your own security guys, right? And security guys with a weapon, which is calling army, which is we're calling a military, and we just start to have a military campaigns. Then we start to have a slavery signs. So military and army is another sign of civilization. We have many points to cover up the meaning of the civilization. When they say like, oh, this civilization, that civilization. No. Civilization, when you say civilization, it should cover up some main points. One of the main points of civilization is militarization, it's army. So Uruk had 80,000 people, 80,000 people, that settlement, in 3300 BCE. Uruk society gets cooler and stronger because they are the first who use warriors in a prospective manner. Their farming was blooming, militarization was blooming, control of local areas was, oh my god, how much was blooming. So I can say that the Ubaid culture after the Ubaid culture and before the Sumer, we have Uruk. Uruk, state city. Technically, we can say that Uruk was state city, and it was on a high level. So why we had in a high level, there is another attempt, perfect attempt, guys, oh my god, of doing from clay strong anthropomorphic faces. So now we forgot this Ubaid culture, lizard, weird UFO, strange snake faces, snake face figurines. Now we're having anthropomorphic faces, beautiful anthropomorphic faces. This is done also in Uruk, perfectly sculptured figurines, let's say. Between 3300 and 3200, we started to have anthropomorphic faces. So Uruk become really like a state city itself. We're shifting from the settlement to the city. City, when you have a proper streets, you have a proto markets, we have a temples, we have a walls, we have a houses, and we have a places to the worship itself. Look at this dish, ugly dish, right? Because it was belong to the government. These dishes were used for distribution. So leaders gather all harvest and after distributed it. We're having a central distribution by temples in Uruk. So we have a difference in secular government. So it's coming we have a main two governments, army and religion. Behind militarization there is a leader, and behind the religion there is a priest. And in this time we're going to have titles like Ense and Lugal. Why this dish ugly? Because it's mass production, Habibi. No time for me to make an extra deco style painting, etc. People start to be excited and rations or allowance by the food distributions. So we have a control over the food, and it's distributed equally. Uruk had his own system, as I said, distribution system. So we have centralized government, guys who has a power, and guys who's on the top of it also have a power in the religion. In the middle, priest in the temple. He distributes food, and there is a security guy, militarization, army. There is another guy who's responsible of security and protection of the city-state itself. So this system start to reach out other places, other cities. They inherited the system and they start to implement in their state cities. Main who inherited the system is Ur, Lagash, in southern Mesopotamia. Sumer's society, they will have writing. This is now we come here. Why we don't say Uruk civilization? Why we don't say Ubaid culture? Why we don't say? Because Sumer's society, they're the one who created writing. The first recorded ever writing belongs to the Sumerians. So now we're having a Sumer civilization. Now we're having a missing chain in the civilization. As I said, Uruk, they had all these points. They had a central government. They had a city-state. They had militarization. They had a beautiful blooming farming. But they had a lack of writing. That's why we cannot call it Uruk civilization. Sumers, they inherited this also. They inherited the system and they added the writing system. Now you're having a complete title of civilization. That's why we're calling it Sumer civilization. And it's the writing. Let's say we had like a first attempt of the writing. As I said, you know, we had on the tokens we mentioned that there was like a counting, right? It was like a 3 strokes, and the next to it was a glyph and a symbol or picture of wheat. That was really basic. But Sumerians, they had complete and complex sentence with its grammar, syntaxes, etc. Cuneiforms. Sumers are the first nation in the history who used writing, and they leveled up the civilization. They complete ancient civilizations points. So all those cultures, what we had at before in prehistoric time, Ubaid culture, Halav culture, Sumerian culture, all those cultures, they didn't have a writing system. You know, it was a small last point to complete the civilization, to have a civilization. While the Sumerian, once they got their own cuneiforms, the writing system, they complete they hit that status to be a civilization, first civilization ever recorded. So what they give us writing? It gives us the title to be a civilization, first of all. We jump from prehistory to the history time. We have records, right? We have everything recorded, everything written, so we know why this god is a sun god, when the sun comes up, you know, rise up, and when the moon, we know about the years, we know about the month, we know about the king's names, when they rule, how they rule, we know about the population, we know the describing, we know the communication between each people. You know, they had a commercial communication, and we know how they relate to each other. We have a beautiful letters of husband and wife. You know, it's giving us full view of history, what happened in the past. So the writing give us a key to open the door in the history. Prehistoric time, we cannot say anything. Only what we can say is just suggest, because we don't have, like, you know, 100% fact which is written and which is accurate. So all we need is a suggestion and guessing and most probably and maybe and all these possible words we're using towards the prehistoric time. While
after the creating the, when we had the cuneiforms, when we had the writing, we absolutely surely can say that there was a harvest season, right? There was several goddesses. The purpose of, for example, this knife is like that. The purpose of this poem is like that. We had festivals. So many things are recorded. So truly, we can say, yeah, it happened, and it is fact. And look at this; it's mentioned like 3000, BCE in the old time. So now we enter to the civilization. Now the next subject we're going to talk about will be Sumerian civilization. Sumerian civilization occurred in southern Mesopotamia. Same centers occurred. I mean, Ubaid culture is somehow continuing and developed to the Sumerian civilization. Sumers actually they not belong to the native land, as suggested that they came from some place, most probably from northern Iraq in modern time. We have many suggestions regarding this one. Again, we don't know exactly because Sumerians, they didn't left for us really facts. However, still they belong, we consider that they belong to that land, right? Southern Mesopotamia. And the chain is complete. So we had a Göbekli Tepe, we had the Ubaid culture, and we had now Sumerian civilization. So from prehistoric time to the Sumerian civilization, these all aspects which lead us to the writing was covered over and over, and we had now full, complete civilizations. I like to, when I'm sitting on the TikTok, I'm sitting in the social media, I'm seeing that a lot of people tagging and naming just, any adjective or any name, a noun, and they're adding the civilization. No, again, I will repeat, to be a civilization, you need to have some points, some particular points, and the writing is in it. Because some people, they say it directly that Ubaid is not Ubaid is a culture. Ubaid is a civilization. However, no, Habibi, again, to be a civilization, you have particular points to be a civilization. So this the prehistoric subject is finished with us for now, and I try to describe and pass over the information which I think it's very useful and valuable. However, in the future, of course, we're going to divide the subjects, separate them. I'm going to pick from this huge subject one particular subject. As I said earlier, that for example, we're going to talk about only Göbekli Tepe, or we're going to talk only about Ubaid culture, or we're going to talk about only Uruk city or Eridu city. So however, first of all and last and least, I like to repeat that we are building for you the view, how it was, why we need this one, when we need this one, so you will understand somehow. Then we're going to build and build and build, and you're going to have a beautiful conclusion, and you have a beautiful thoughts and views about the prehistoric time. Thank you so much. Thank you for watching me. Please subscribe, thumbs up. If you have any question, please comment. I like read conservative criticizing. I'm open for the critics. Well, it's conservative, right? So again, thank you so much for watching my video, and subscribe. See you.